Can Dillon Gabriel win the Heisman? We're going to talk about it in today's video. But before we get started, I do want to say if you guys enjoy the video, make sure to like and subscribe. It really does go a long way. This is a new channel, so anything helps. With that said, let's get into the video. Currently, the Heisman favorite would be CJ Stroud, and if I was a betting man, I would also bet that CJ Stroud would win it. The Heisman Trophy, a lot of it is going to depend on name recognition, and unfortunately, Dillon Gabriel doesn't have the biggest name recognition compared to CJ Stroud, Bryce Young, Bijan Robinson. Gabriel transferred from UCF, and Heisman voters, typically they're not watching UCF games. So UCF, they don't play in a Power 5 conference. They're not in playoff contention. There's no real big games that Heisman voters are going to be watching, so they're not going to be familiar with Dillon Gabriel. Also, Dillon Gabriel did break his collarbone last year, so he is coming back from an injury. And it doesn't help that his new offensive coordinator, Jeff Lebby, likes to run the ball quite a bit. However, if Oklahoma blows out its rivals, if they blow out Texas, if they blow out Baylor, if they win every game and make the playoffs, I think Dillon Gabriel has a strong chance of possibly winning the Heisman. A lot of it is going to depend on how Oklahoma does as a team. Now, Oklahoma did lose Tyrese Robinson and Adrian Ealy to the NFL draft, but they are returning a lot of young promising talent. The running backs look great with Marcus Major and Eric Gray. They have a strong receiving core. Now, if Oklahoma underperforms and Dillon Gabriel has great numbers, I don't think that would help his Heisman odds at all. It really is going to depend on the team. If they go undefeated, regardless of Dillon Gabriel's stats, as long as they're not terrible, he is going to be considered as a Heisman Trophy finalist. It's also going to depend on how Ohio State does as well. If the Buckeyes underperform, if they lose to Michigan, if they lose to Penn State, if they don't make the Big Ten championship or they lose the Big Ten championship, then I think other players, especially Gabriel, will have a chance to really seize the moment. A lot of Heisman voters don't like to vote for the same winner as the previous season, so I don't think Bryce Young will win it. Even if he does have a great season or a better season than last year, it still would be unlikely. We've seen players like Lamar Jackson win the Heisman, have an even better season the following year, but not even become a finalist. So again, it is very rare that a Heisman voter votes for the same person twice in consecutive years. Caleb Williams will be a name to watch, but that's also going to depend on how the team performs as well. If USC wins the Pac-12 and makes the playoffs, I think Caleb Williams will actually be the prime Heisman candidate finalist. But if USC has a bad year, if they lose to Oregon, if they lose to Utah, if they lose to UCLA, if they lose to Fresno State early, then obviously Caleb Williams won't be a finalist. And same thing with Dillon Gabriel. So if Oklahoma loses to Kansas State, if they lose to Nebraska, if they lose to Texas early, it's not going to look good for Dillon Gabriel. Matt Corral, towards the end of last year, was getting his name brought up in the Heisman Trophy race. The only thing that ended up hurting Corral was Ole Miss's record, and the same thing's going to apply here. So if Dillon Gabriel has the same performance as Matt Corral, but a better record, I think he'll definitely make it to New York and be a Heisman finalist. But a lot goes into the season. His team has to be healthy, he has to be healthy, and other Heisman finalists would have to slip up like CJ Stroud, Bijan Robinson would have to underperform, Caleb Williams and USC would have to underperform. So it's going to depend on a lot, and you never know about another potential dark horse whose name we're not even thinking about right now. Dillon Gabriel does have a strong arm, he is an accurate downfield passer, he can read a defense. I definitely think there's a chance for him to win the Heisman.